What's going on, CashSports family? Well, I'm back again. I was streaming earlier. Uh, it's the evening. We get some basketball in there. So to get straight to the point. I want to talk about a couple of things that's probably been trending for the past couple of weeks in regards to the NBA. Just because it's the off season, doesn't mean things are things are still occurring. There's still a lot of trade rumors, a lot of talk with players, whether they're going to stay or leave or, things within that nature. So I think, it's worth talking about because some of these moves can, change the league. It can, because who knows? So let's get into this first topic, man. But before I do, for anybody that tunes in, anybody that's watching right now, drop that like, subscribe, and while you at it too, hit that notification button. So whenever I go live, you guys can see exactly when I go live, and then y'all can tune in. Because just because I'm here, talking in front of you guys, doesn't mean you guys can't come on here too. So I like to have you guys on here so I can engage with my people that be watching me. And so, at the end of the day, I love them barbershop talks, So I'm here, I'm ready. Whenever anybody wants to join, actually, you know what? Let me put that link in the comments now. Okay, there it goes. All right. So if anybody wants to tune in, just hit that link in the comment section, and then you can tune in whenever. So let's get into this first topic, man. That's the first thing I want to tap into. He's always a big subject. He's always something to talk about when it comes to this league. LeBron James. So as we all know, Buddy's on the last year of his contract, and I think he was offered. I might not know the complete stimulation as to what's going on between the Lakers and LeBron James. I mean, all we know for sure is that the owner, Jeannie Buss, daughter of the late great Jerry Buss, who formerly bought the Lakers, she wants to keep LeBron James. I mean, for good reason. I don't see any reason why anybody would even think of trading LeBron James. I mean, he wasn't playing bad. He wasn't really showing his age. So just the thought of even trying to trade LeBron is ludicrous, to keep it 100 with you. So, but yeah, she doesn't want to let go of LeBron James. She wants LeBron to kind of stay on the team and break that all-time scoring record with him as a Laker. That would be another very distinguishable. I wouldn't say. I think that's the wrong way of me saying it. But it's a very prestigious record. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had made that record, or he broke that record nearly 40 years ago, and it still stands today, which is incredible. The same goes for a lot of other records, but I mean, this is the league, this is the basketball league, and a lot falls on scoring. We always look at scoring as like this, very big thing, and as we should. So for LeBron to just be playing as long as he has and to be playing at such a high level, I mean, it's only right that if anybody were to break this record, it would definitely be LeBron James. But back to the whole Lakers situation, and that involves LeBron James. And so, big question is LeBron is he gonna stay with the Lakers? Is he gonna ink in that that 2-year contract extension with the Lakers? And honestly, I think that's a question I don't think really anybody has the answers to. As as far as I know, LeBron has always kind of been like a somewhat private guy when it comes to decisions like this. I mean, think about the decision, like, I mean, everybody had a feeling, but nobody really knew, but I think this is kind of like one of those situations. It's almost like when he went to the Lakers also. Like, we all had a feeling, it made sense, but we didn't really think it was going to happen, unless you kind of have to see it to believe it. But yeah, I think it's up in the air, man. I could see LeBron signing that 2-year deal. I just don't. It's just with everything going on, and then you got this whole Westbrook situation, and Lakers as of late, ever since the former owner, Jerry Buss, before he passed or after he passed, Lakers really haven't been the same team that we've been accustomed to, when it comes to that winning culture, the Showtime Lakers. You don't really see that vibe, that essence, that aura of the Lakers. I really don't think it's not quite the same as it used to be, especially when Kobe was alive. Not to take anything from LeBron, because obviously he did his thing. I mean, he got the Lakers a championship, which ultimately tied the Boston Celtics for the most championships in the NBA. But I besides LeBron's LA situation, because we know for a fact LeBron has came out, or not him personally, but there has been some headlines in regards to LeBron James wanting to stay in LA, and I don't see any other reason why LeBron would have to leave LA. I don't really see the purpose for LeBron to really go out there and ring chase. I think even though it's championship or bust, when it comes to LeBron, and so I think he could compete with the roster he has now. I mean, with the exception of Westbrook, I don't think they can necessarily compete with Westbrook on that team, plain and simple. But like the Lakers, they still have that culture within them where they still want to be successful. They still want to be able to compete. Obviously, last year they went in with that mindset, but everything just kind of came falling apart, kind of off the rip. It was like a domino effect, man. It was like the moment Westbrook got there, they sucked. And it's not like Westbrook sucks. I mean, he sucked last year. I'm not gonna take that. Let's just keep it a buck here. You know what I mean? Like, he played terrible last year, even despite having 18, 7-7. I mean, that like, if you look at efficiency and just shot selection and to an extent defense, it just wasn't one of Russell Westbrook's best years. Honestly, I won't even say one of it. It was the worst. It was the worst year. It was probably the worst year of his life. Yeah, I'm not even like trying to really crack on that, but I mean, I truly feel bad for Westbrook, honestly. Like, just with that whole situation, like he's from LA. You know what I mean? Like, he's from here, and then you got the guys hating. You got the fans hating on him. They don't want him to shoot. To the extent they don't even really want him on the team. So, and then now you hear a lot of chit chat and a lot of rumors that involves LeBron James probably saying, he probably had enough of Westbrook. He doesn't want to play with him. That's that. But like I said, going back to the question with LeBron James on the Lakers, I mean, he made it quite clear he wanted to play with his son, Bronny. Bronny has definitely been in the news as of late, so I'm not really going to comment on his basketball skills and his play. I mean, he's still young, but he has so much time to develop. We still can't really grasp what type of player he's going to be, and then he doesn't really have his father's size, so that's an entirely different conversation. But he's been very clear on that message, saying that he wants to play with his son Bronny. and Bronny is still in high school. Um, he is going to be going to, he's going to be going to college here pretty soon. But even then, man, yeah, like in order for him to even try and go to the league, I mean, he has to be one and done. And at least I would say it like this. I just don't see him as a one and done just yet. You know what I mean? I do mean that respectfully. I just don't see him as a one and done just yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody needs to be a one and done in college and in NCAA. You know, there's a lot of one and dones who shouldn't have been one and done. This is one and dones, like they did 1 year in college and then they're done in the NBA, because that is, for some people it really goes down like that. So but yeah, that's really hit or miss. Especially with the NBA, you can't really tank the way you used to. Kind of the 76ers kind of screwed that one up. So yeah, it's gonna be a really weird situation. At least in that regard. But do I think LeBron will sign that contract early? Because I think he's eligible for that contract now. And so we really just kind of have to see, where and how it pans out. Because LeBron is a very strategic guy. Like, he's not somebody who's just gonna like march right into a situation without really fully knowing what's going on or getting the best out of a situation. LeBron is a very savvy businessman. He does a lot. And so he's a guy that uses his head, tries to make the best decisions. And so what I think is he's just trying to wait it out. He'll probably ink that deal in if he decides to stay with the Lakers, probably mid-season. But I think he's really trying to bank on when Bronny's going to come to the league. So I think he doesn't want to fully commit, or he doesn't want to commit to the team just yet. And he kind of wants to grasp what that situation is looking like. Now, if LeBron does sign the deal, hypothetically, right? He inks the deal in. He's staying with the Lakers for 3 more years, including the season coming up, right? Where does it go from there? Well, even though if the news is stating that Russell Westbrook is trying to leave or they're trying to find trades, at the end of the day, nobody's really trading for Westbrook unless the Lakers give up 2 of those first round picks in 2027 and 2029. And so I'll say this: Russell Westbrook, if he's here this year, one, they're gonna try to trade him before the deadline, and he's definitely not gonna be there next year. I know that for sure. That's almost guaranteed. You know what I mean? Like, get Russell Westbrook out of here in LA, man. LA needs to be competing. They don't need all that extra stuff, man. It's just not going down. We don't need none of that. But somebody who will be there is Anthony Davis. I mean, we all know one of, if not the best player to play with LeBron James in terms of skill and what he brings to the game. And AD is, he's obviously the younger guy out of the two or three, out of Westbrook and LeBron James. So LeBron, if he inks that deal in, he'll probably average about like $38 million a year, which will still be able to give Anthony Davis a max contract. So really where it goes from here, if LeBron was to ink in a 2-year contract extension with the Lakers for $97 million, I mean, LeBron's just getting what he deserves. He's getting money. I mean, he's a billionaire. He really doesn't need the money. So that's another thing. That's another conversation. I mean, he could take that up with Forbes, but we are CashSports. So, but with Anthony Davis, man, I think with LeBron James if he were to potentially ink in that deal and stay with the Lakers, that would give Anthony Davis a lot of cushion. But I don't think that cushion is thick. It's very, very thin. Because Anthony Davis, even with LeBron playing last year, he was catching a lot of heat. He wasn't playing that well. He wasn't great from three, and there was the assumption that after the whole championship season, that Anthony Davis would essentially take the mantle and lead the team instead of having LeBron, take most of the load when it comes to either offense or defense. But do I believe AD is gonna, flip a switch and he's gonna try to turn things around? I definitely believe so. Aside from him getting injured, really for the most part is his damn. If it's not him being injured, sometimes it's with Anthony Davis being somewhat aggressive. If you guys ever watched my previous streams, I kind of elaborated a little bit on the whole Anthony Davis situation in regards to leading the team after LeBron. And this is something with Anthony Davis, we've seen him in this position kind of with the Pelicans. Being able to, or being the four guy on the team, the 1A. And even though the Pelicans were somewhat competitive, they weren't exactly going for no title runs or no championship runs. So even though if the Lakers were to ink that deal, let's just say if they were to lock in LeBron James, honestly, that's I wouldn't look at that as something to kind of look up to or to look forward to if you're the Lakers organization, because realistically, man, when you're management of a team, you got to think the long game. You got to think, okay, am I going to be able to compete for the next coming years? But LeBron, though, it's always a sensitive situation, because you got somebody like LeBron on your team. It's typically, championship or bust. So, and that's kind of why they're in this situation right now. They gave up all those picks. They gave up a lot of salary cap for a win now situation. And that's kind of what we've seen in the past with LeBron James on some of these teams. And it's for good reason. I think I think it's a fair assessment to say that LeBron doesn't like playing with younger players. I wouldn't say he doesn't like it, but I think he has a preference to play with more veteran players, because I think at that point, they're really not trying to do the most or trying to be a hero. For the most part, they're just trying to fulfill their roles and compliment LeBron or any other player that's getting hot, and just back them up from there. Be the help. If anybody's ever really watched basketball, I mean, you understand where I'm coming from, right? Having your guys help when needed, playing off the ball, rebounding, even setting guys up, and all that whole spiel. So reason why I said the Lakers shouldn't really be too excited about bringing back LeBron anyway, because it's almost like that Kobe Bryant situation when they signed Kobe, and I think he was making like a ton of money on the near the end of his career, and Kobe Bryant definitely deserves the money, but that also comes with consequences. You're giving up essentially the future of your franchise and the ability to build around that player that you're paying. And so, I mean, LeBron's going into his 20th season. So if he were to ink in this deal, that means he would probably be playing 22 seasons. And I think that would be tied with Vince Carter as the most seasons played in the league. And if you got to pay a 37, 38-year-old guy, 30, $40 million a year. And remember, it's not like they're giving LeBron, the way I see it, it's not like they're giving LeBron the money just to be like, okay, like you deserve it, like they're giving him the money obviously so that they can still be able to compete, because LeBron can still play at a high level. But that being said, it's not a mystery that LeBron is not going to be there forever. So the Lakers need to put that into consideration and get really serious about Anthony Davis. 2, get Westbrook the hell up out of there. And then 3, just manage LeBron's minutes. You can't be working him to the bone, man. It's ridiculous. Like even last year, it was a really crazy situation. We already talked about Russell Westbrook not really playing too well, and Anthony Davis being out. So a lot of those times you had LeBron playing heavy minutes, just trying to win a regular season game. So that right there, it's just not acceptable at this point for a guy like LeBron in his career. So whether he inks in that 97 mil, I don't really see. There's been talks with Cleveland and Cavs, and I don't really see that happening too much. Let's be honest here, and I'm not even really trying to insult nobody, but I wouldn't if I'm a professional athlete, why would I go from LA to Cleveland? It's just, especially since he's making movies, he's got his own production company out here. Like, why would he do that? It doesn't really make too much sense. I'm pretty sure his family loves living out here in LA. It's very eventful. You can do a bunch of things. It has its ups and downs when it comes to a little traffic here and there. So, but I don't see him really going anywhere. What's the point at this point? Like I said, I don't think LeBron really needs to chase a ring. I think he has a very good argument within his career, whether he can battle with MJ, Kareem, Magic, Will. Like, LeBron can compete with any name right now, even without a 5th ring. So if he were to get a 5th ring, hey, salute. He be the GOAT. He'll be the GOAT to me if he gets 5. I don't think he needs 6 to be over Jordan. I think that says a lot about his perseverance and just the things that he's been to. So, but like I said, I don't really see LeBron needing to. I don't think he needs to win that 5th ring. Does he win it? If he does, hey, salute. But if he doesn't, I don't think he needs to really break his back or if he's in the playoffs, completely different story. LeBron better turn up. We better see playoff LeBron at that point, because hey, why not? Like, you're already there, you might as well compete. We've seen it for so long. Why not continue that? But specifically during the season, that got to be AD's time. That got to be young players. That's when Darvin Ham got to get up in his coaching and start these rotations and see which player he can get the best out of. But yeah, man, I just don't see LeBron really leaving the Lakers. I just don't. I don't think there's really any other reason. Unless he were to go to like the Warriors, which there's been talks here and there. Maybe the Heat. Maybe, but that wouldn't really make too much sense, at least not right now. But yeah, I don't see LeBron leaving. I don't, and that's just my take on that. Y'all can let me know what y'all think. Is LeBron gonna stay? Is he gonna leave? Is he gonna leave the Lakers? Who knows? I see somebody's in the chat though. If you don't mind, drop that like and subscribe, man. I'm always streaming. Talking about football, basketball, boxing, MMA, you name it. The stream link is in the comments. If you want to tap in, if you want to just keep listening to me, hey, I'm cool with that for me, so I'm good. But next conversation, or the next topic I want to get into is this whole KD thing, man. So I know I talked about it in the previous NBA talk video, but KD, he's gonna have. I'm not gonna lie. Looking back on it, Kevin Durant is gonna have like a really weird career. Like a really like it's gonna be weird because it's like Kevin Durant is definitely top 10 most skilled player of all time, one of the greatest scorers of all time, one of the most efficient players of all time. KD swapped to Laker for King James to the Nets. Honestly, I mean that's not a bad trade. Honestly, I think that's one of the best trades, really, because you could go 1-for-1, but it's and it would be great to see LeBron James in New York City. I think that would really be like a magical thing to have LeBron James in Big Apple. Like that's something we really, New Yorkers really haven't had really long time. To have such a name and such a box office attraction in New York City. That's probably something we haven't had since Melo. So by the way, I'm born and raised in New York, but I live in LA now. So I'm a Giants fan. But when it comes to basketball, I am a Laker fan. But yeah, I like if I'm the Lakers, would I trade for KD? Honestly, nah, I wouldn't do it. If I'm the Lakers, I wouldn't. If I'm the Nets, and if I can get LeBron James for Kevin Durant, I mean, that really depends on who's ever dropping the gavel on that one. Dropping the gavel. Because with KD, you got to look at it like this, right? I mean, he is playing at the prime of his career right now. KD is putting up crazy numbers. He's doing his thing, but he still gets injured. He still gets injured, and that's something you still got to pay attention to. Even though he's on his 4-year deal, right? How many games is he going to be able to play in that 4-year contract? He's only played 90 games with the Nets so far, so that's not a lot. I mean, even though LeBron James is on the older spectrum and he's heading into his 20th year, I'll say this, I don't see the Celtics doing what they did to Kevin Durant doing to LeBron James. That's definitely not happening. I don't see that, especially now in the first round like that. Like LeBron's, like, I haven't seen like the numbers that Kevin Durant had in that game. That was like LeBron James numbers in his first finals against the Spurs. You know what I'm saying? And LeBron, even though he took that team all the way to the finals against the Spurs, I mean, he had a really tough matchup that year. So, new start for both. Yeah, it would be a new start. I mean, I would say it's more of a new start for KD than LeBron, because I don't like I said, like I was talking about before, I don't think LeBron James is looking for a fresh start at this point. He's a billionaire. He has a lot of off the court ventures. Like even though it's championship or bust, he's already kind of built up a relationship with Anthony Davis. And that's another thing too. I don't really see him leaving Anthony Davis. I don't see him leaving Anthony Davis to go play with Kyrie. I think the only scenario is if Kyrie gets traded to the Lakers. I don't see LeBron going to the Nets. And then the Lakers already came out and said they're not letting go of LeBron James. And I wouldn't either, man. Like with LeBron James, even though I'll be honest on here. LeBron James, when you have LeBron James on your franchise, he does bring havoc. Brings a lot of havoc, because I mean he's the most popular player in the league, so everybody's talking about him, everybody wants to hear what he says, everybody wants to watch him play. So the same goes for KD, but it's still not to an extent like LeBron. So if you're the Nets, right, you got to look at it like this too. Even though KD is injury prone, they still got him inked in for 4 years. Remember, the Nets don't have to trade KD. It's almost the same situation as Ben Simmons. The Sixers, they traded him, solely based off the offer that they got from the Nets. And I mean, we heard repeatedly too, the 76ers, they didn't have to trade him that at that specific time. and because he inked in, his 4 to 5 year deal. So with Kevin Durant, it's literally the same exact situation. He signed his contract in the beginning of the year. Remember, the Nets were supposed to sign James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. So, and Kevin Durant was the first one to sign his contract. And then when the whole vaccine situation happened with Kyrie, he lost his. The Nets kind of pulled that contract because obviously they weren't getting any security with Kyrie Irving, and then James Harden waited to sign his deal with the Nets, and as we all know now, he requested a trade from the 76ers. So that's also something you got to think about too, because of the fact that the Nets that they have Kevin Durant for 4 years. There really doesn't need to be no urgency to let him go, in my opinion. But with LeBron James, I mean, if you're trading for LeBron James, I mean, one, you got to make sure that your roster is pristine. You have to be championship ready, and then not to mention, when you're looking at LeBron James now, you really only have kind of like a 2 year window, maybe three, and that's a very big maybe. Even this year is a maybe, but I mean, I wouldn't count it out. I wouldn't count it out completely. I just wouldn't say LeBron is the number one best player in the league right now, but he's still top five in my book. But I only see a 2 year window with Kevin Durant. I mean, it could be 2 years. He could only play 2 years out of his contract, but remember also too, Kevin Durant is a better shooter than LeBron. He's a better scorer than LeBron, just from efficiency. So it's apples and oranges, really. It really is apples and oranges when you look at it. You got one guy who's a little bit on more to the end of his career, and you got KD who's in the middle of his prime and could potentially be sinking. I wouldn't be saying sinking, but he could be on a decline probably by the end of his contract, or maybe even year 3. Because I can't even remember the last time Kevin Durant has played more than 70, 60 games in a season. I haven't seen it. So yeah, but that's my take on that, man. If you got any questions though, drop it in the comment section. I don't have to stay on topic, I'm just kind of letting it go organically, but I got my topics written down, and I just kind of go on a little rant on that. And if you ask a question, I can stop what I'm doing just to see what you got going on. So back to this KD trade. Basically, what came out recently was with Brooklyn Nets basically still having hope to keep Kevin Durant. They're hoping when the season starts that he will rescind his trade request, which I think they're really trying to stay on the brighter side. And if I'm the Brooklyn Nets too, I would do the same thing. Honestly, if I was the Brooklyn Nets, I would treat the situation just like Daryl Morey from the Sixers. I wouldn't trade. I mean, that's kind of what the Nets are doing, because they want a huge trade package for Kevin Durant. They're not holding up on that at all, and why should they? I'm not gonna want none of these these bum ass trades for Kevin Durant. No, because at the end of the day, if you're trading away Kevin Durant, you're already losing the trade. The fact that Kevin Durant really asked for the trade, you're already losing. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, if you're the Nets, yeah, I'm not giving KD up for shit. Unless it's an offer that I really can't refuse. There's only so few players where you could be like, okay, I'm gonna trade this guy for Kevin Durant. And in a lot of those situations that were occurring, it's obvious that the Nets, they're gonna want your number one star. With the Suns, they wanted Devin Booker. With the Heat, they wanted Jimmy Butler. And if I was the Celtics, or if I was trading with the Celtics and I'm the Nets, me personally, I'm going to want Jason Tatum over Jaylen Brown. Nothing against Jaylen Brown. I think he's fantastic. I think he glowed up on this last postseason, but I would still take Jason Tatum. I think I would do that trade in a heartbeat. But back to this whole trade, man. It's just weird with KD. I think KD just has he's just a weird guy, bro. Like he's really just he's a weird individual, and just kind of how he goes about things. Like I understand almost like his way of thinking, where it's like he's like a almost like a kid, where it's just like, "Yeah, I just want to do this, and I want to play with my friend, this and that." Like it's almost like when he wants to play ball. That's probably like when he's at his that's like when he's at his most innocent, or when he's most innocent. You know what I mean? But when he starts sliding them DMs, they watch out for KD, cause that man dangerous. That man got fake accounts and shit. Oh man, but yeah, man, it's like his philosophy on going about this whole thing, and just letting Kyrie, kind of do whatever he want on a championship team, I may say, because let's be honest, even though the Nets were, they were tanking for the past 2 years, and that team never really played together. They were still a championship team, man. Like if you have any team with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, that's a title contending team. If they hadn't given up Jared Allen to the Cavs, dangerous. They would have been a very dangerous team. But that hurt their defense a lot, giving them Jared Allen. It happens. At the end of the day, you got I believe it was a three-team trade at that time. So when they traded for James Harden, I think they had to give a couple pieces to Cleveland for that trade to follow through. But yeah, man, even with James Harden not on that team, and with Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and even to an extent Claxton, and Joe Harris, even though he was hurt for the better part of the year, or really for the entire year, really. But that's still a really good team, man. It is. It's still a really good team, and I can see them competing. I just think where the Nets are really slipping up is the coaching situation. I think because of the fact that I think the Nets are too laxed on how they run the team, and you can almost see it, you can almost feel it when you're watching them play. Like you see it in their offense, just kind of like the body language and how the team plays together. Just because you have two of the best scorers on your team doesn't mean you shouldn't come in there and actually be a coach. And it's not to say like I think this situation with Steve Nash, though, it's a very tough situation, because Steve Nash is like he's like one of those typical nice Canadians, like he's like one of those guys that's like really nice and probably says A after every sentence, no relation, so like Steve Nash is probably like one of those really, really nice guys. And when you're coaching a team like Kevin Durant, who has like ghost accounts, and Kyrie Irving, who very philosophical, I may say, and has a lot of opinions. You need a backbone in there, man. You need somebody who's gonna really lead the helm at the coaching position. Because you could have had a coach who possibly could have stood up to Kyrie and be like, "Nah, man, like you messing this team up, man." Like that's something. If it wasn't KD, if it's not KD to address Kyrie, it should have been Steve Nash. But even though still, when you look back at it, one, they chose the coach. So Kevin Durant and Steve Nash are the ones that chose Steve Nash as I'm sorry, I might have messed up. So Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are the ones that picked Steve Nash as a coach. And then you had a situation where Kyrie Irving was saying we really don't need a coach, and when you say things like that, it doesn't really resonate with championship basketball, because for every team to win a championship, man, it's like everything has to fall in line, everything. And it comes with skill, it comes with perseverance, it comes with, even to an extent, luck, because luck is a matter of just getting injured or not, So yeah, it's just. But kudos to Steve Nash, though, man. Kudos to Steve Nash because he really did go through a lot, with that team. So, but with that being said, though, I think that's a very big reason why they should have just let him go. I think the Nets made a huge mistake in not letting Steve Nash go. And it's not to look at Steve Nash and just be like, yo, you're fired, you're trash, get out of here. He can potentially find an assistant job somewhere. He could potentially find a job somewhere as an assistant coach, and then learn the ropes, start to be a little bit more experienced, establish some leadership qualities when you're going into a field like that, man, because people really underestimate the leadership qualities required to lead a team, and I think that was kind of obvious. Steve Nash was a little bit laxed, not really assertive with his team, and so I just think it's not. This isn't the team that he should be coaching. I think with Steve Nash, he should be coaching a team more like the Kings, the Knicks, one of those teams, just to get a feel, just to see, how those, how that's looking. How does he mesh with younger players? Because with younger players, they can, kind of like babies. They can probably sink in a lot of things more because they're really trying to adjust to entering the NBA, entering the league. So when you have like somebody like Kyrie and Kevin Durant, those guys, they're probably looking at Steve Nash like, hey, I was better than you as a player. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably not Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant probably thinks he's better than everybody, and for good reason. Hey, he is one of the best players to ever watch, but with Kyrie Irving, there's no doubt in my mind that he probably told Steve Nash to his face, look, bro, I can coach. Let me coach. I'm better than you. I'm better than you at coaching. So that's probably Kyrie Irving's mindset and just the whole thing. And bottom line, man, when you're a coach, or when you don't respect your coach, or when a coach doesn't have the respect of his players, you're doomed for failure. Point blank, period. If a team does not have respect for their coach, they will not win a championship. Point blank, period. Point blank, period. Look what happened with the Cavs. And I think it was 2016. David Blatt was the head coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they fired him mid-season and then hired Tyronn Lue as the head coach. And guess what? They won a championship. And Tyronn Lue, not only was he a former player, but he said the right things when it mattered. He made the right adjustments when it mattered. And more importantly, if you guys don't know this, he's one of the few coaches to stand up to LeBron James. I think there was a clip. I think you guys can probably check it out. I'll see if I can probably add that link in the description. So if you do, check that out. But if it's not there, if I can't find it, then oh well. But yeah, LeBron was trying to come back and try to be the coach. LeBron, the GM, coach, owner, was like, hey, we should sell the team. No, he didn't say that, but but he was like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. And then Tyronn Lue was like, hey, shut the F up. I got this. Feel me? And things, and it's not like obviously Tyronn Lue wasn't aiming to disrespect LeBron James, but sometimes you gotta assert your dominance and you gotta assert yourself like, look, man, this is my job. They hired me to do this. You play, I coach. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. And guess what? That formula It's worked for so long, and it worked then, and that's exactly why the Cleveland Cavaliers were able to win that championship in 2016. So I think it does start there. I think that's what it's ultimately going to take for the Nets to probably keep Kevin Durant. If they have any chance of even changing his mind and making it seem like, okay, you know what, I think we could do some things here and switch some things around. You gotta you gotta make some type of change, because really, Kevin Durant is probably looking at this situation because one, I've heard some things saying that he doesn't want to play with Kyrie Irving anymore, and he still wants to request that trade. I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but that's where Kevin Durant really needs to be held more responsible, because at the end of the day, you chose to play with Kyrie Irving. You chose to play with him. You stuck behind him. You stood behind him. And as you should, at least to the media, because that's a door I'm pretty sure you don't want to be knocking down. But behind closed doors, man, I would hope Kevin Durant was knocking on Kyrie Irving's door every day, like, yo, what's up with this vaccine, man? You gonna get this Johnson & Johnson vaccine? So that's probably what Kyrie Irving was protesting, was that Johnson & Johnson. But no, man. So yeah, I the Nets didn't really make a big change like that. They brought back the players that were already there, and they lost Andre Drummond, and then Steve Nash is back, like I said. So it's like, where is the upgrade? Where are the adjustments? And so, to be fair, at least in Kevin Durant's position, at least in his through his perspective, it's like, why should I come back? Why should I come back and play my heart out for this team? Well, I'm gonna tell you why, KD. Because you played 90 games on the Nets, bro. You better play your ass on that motherfucking team. It's like let's be honest, man. And this is why I said this in the beginning, where I said Kevin Durant is gonna have a really weird career. Because we already know about that whole situation with the Warriors, and losing to the Warriors, being up 3-1, and them coming back and beating them, and then going to that team and then winning 2 championships. A lot of people look at those championships like they're flukes. A lot of people look at them like they should have an asterisk next to it. Now, do I feel that way? No, because a championship run is still a championship run. You still got to ball. You still got to do your thing. You still got to, you still got to go out there and compete. But this move with Kevin Durant going to the Nets, honestly, I loved it. I love the fact that he actually went to a small market team, and the idea of it was very, very intriguing. But it looks now like KD is a follower and a runner. And I'm not saying he is. I mean, you have a better case for probably follower. I mean, runner too. I mean, honestly, it's how you guys want to talk about that. But that's how it comes across. It's definitely, that's how it comes across, because especially when you're a team that was able to compete, and it's not like it's not like you said, hey, I'm willing to go to just a decent enough team. I just want to hoop. If he said, I just want to hoop, we would have took it at that, and then the Brooklyn Nets probably would have gotten the best trade out of some team that probably wasn't in title contention, but then they would be if they traded for Kevin Durant. But Kevin Durant didn't run down that scenario. What did he say? He was talking about he wanted the Heat, wanted the Suns, so I think even to an extent, I don't know if he came out and said that he wanted to go to the Celtics. I mean, not a lot of players really want to go to the Celtics, I mean, if they do, it just so happens to be, but I don't think that's like a desired market for a lot of star players from what we've heard. Let me just drink this water real quick. Yeah. So yeah, I just think it looks like Kevin Durant is running with his tail between his legs. And I know what I'm saying, man. It sounds harsh. It sounds crazy. Uh, and it's probably borderline disrespectful or something. But reason being, I just got to keep it a buck, man, because we're cash sports. But reason why I gotta say it like that is because at the end of the day, with all this going down with Kyrie Irving, with everything going down with the whole situation with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant didn't understand that anything that Kyrie was getting involved in, or anything that he was essentially, whenever he was being talked about, guess who was in that conversation with him? Guess who they were talking about too? Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant, yes, he's came out and he said at the end of the day, hey, I want to play basketball, but you're a professional, bro. You're a professional basketball player. So that comes with a lot of other different things than me just, going to Rutgers Park or going to Venice Beach and shooting some hoops. Like, nah, you come with a lot of baggage, man. You come with a lot of expectation. And at the end of the day, man, it's with Kevin Durant wanting to leave the Nets, it just makes him, like I said, it just makes him look like a follower. It makes him look scared, and it looks like he's just really trying to get he's trying to take the easy route again. And if he were to do that, honestly, I don't think any championship would redeem his career. Especially if he were to go to a team where like the Suns or the Heat or any of those teams, and if they were able to keep their stars, then guess what? That same narrative with Kevin Durant about his championships have an asterisk. They're gonna run that whole headline. They're gonna run that whole headline back. They're gonna run that whole thing back. And guess what? Nobody's gonna care. Nobody's gonna care. So he's really, probably never really gonna hear this. I mean, Kevin Durant might be watching. He'd be watching my channel on the burner account right now. but if I were to see KD, I'd be like, nah, man, don't trade. Don't request a trade. At least I say, give the Brooklyn Nets, and I know I'm not the only one to have said this, but give the Brooklyn Nets a legit year. Give them 1 year and see where it goes. Like, actually have like a full career, or not full, a full season, with your whole roster, and see where it goes, man. Because even though the Nets lost to the Celtics, they weren't a complete team. They just lost their third guy in James Harden. Ben Simmons, he fallen and he can't get up. So, that series for the Nets was just doomed for failure. They weren't ready. They were not ready for a team like the Celtics, who had already building up momentum leading into the playoffs. And then now there's trade talks about him going to the Celtics. So how would that look if Kevin Durant gets swept by the Celtics and then gets traded to him the following year? I mean, even though in this situation it's entirely different, because when Kevin Durant signed with the Warriors, he was a free agent. At this given time, he's not. He's under contract. But give or take, when it comes to social media, when it comes to mass media, you already know we don't care. we're gonna look at the big picture. We're gonna look at what's right in front of us, and that says you got swept by this team, and guess what? You're traded to them, and you're playing for them now. So, and this is just looking at Kevin Durant, like, he's a great player. He's a fantastic player. I think if Kevin Durant had played consistently throughout his career, and played most games in like played 60 to 70 games in a regular season, on a regular basis, then like Kevin Durant could have been top 10 player, but being top 10, that comes with accomplishments also. It's not just about how you play and stats. I mean, stats can take you far, but you also gotta really, I mean, stats, it's a hit or miss with top 10, but you have to have a collection of everything. You gotta have the chips, you gotta have the MVP, you gotta have the accolades, you gotta have a bunch of those stuff, and Kevin Durant is he is a winner in that sense. I mean, Kevin Durant is a fantastic player, but when you look at all those other guys who's been playing for so long, who played for the entirety of their career, at least through their prime, then yeah, it's almost immeasurable, because like they say, best ability is availability, so and Kevin Durant has just missed way too much games during his best years. He's just missed way too much games, man, because I think even the year when he won MVP, and then the next following year he got injured again, and then that was the year Russell Westbrook won MVP. So yeah, man, I'm not rocking with this trade. I'm not rocking with this trade request. I'm just gonna keep it straight with you on that one. I don't like it, and I just want to actually see the Nets actually really play together. Is that too much to ask? Like, honestly, like, if anybody's watching, if anybody's listening, let me know. Is that too much to ask for the Nets to just play together? Is it too much to ask certain players to play basketball? Ben Simmons, are you gonna play basketball, bro? Please, you feel me? Like, are you gonna shoot? Nah, let me stop though. But look out for Ben Simmons though. I'll definitely say that. Look out for Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons is gonna come out there. He gonna be a beast. I think that man is gonna be a beast, bro. He gonna do his thing. People, they shitting on him since that playoff series against the Hawks. But if he's watching now, or if he's thinking back on that situation and just that whole year, hey man, you better come out blasting. I'm talking about going hard in the paint. I'm talking about, like, he better have the best numbers of his life. Like, he better have LeBron James rookie numbers. 20 points. 20 points per game. That's Ben Simmons' highest career average, is 20 points per game in the season. But yeah, man, if all these players were to play together, I really think they would mesh well. And I just don't see, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe there's something really stirring up in the middle between Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Maybe they're not best friends for life anymore. It doesn't look like they really homeboys like that. So, but when was winning a championship about feelings though? When was it ever about friendships and just wanting to ball? It comes with a lot more than that. I mean, shit, we're looking at the whole situation with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen now, and it's looking like they don't really even like each other. or Scottie Pippen doesn't like Michael Jordan anymore, you know. Uh, but yeah, man, you don't have to like each other to win a championship, bro. You don't, you know. And I think that's also part of the whole situation with Warriors and KD, or Draymond with KD. Even though they were saying some things like, KD was more than likely he was gonna leave and things of that nature, but I'm calling BS on players, or at least Draymond and KD, when it comes to that whole situation, saying it's management fault. Bullshit, bro. Bullshit. Because let's keep it 100, man. Because at the end of the day, bro, if you a man, you ain't calling me no bitch to my face, bro. Bare minimum, you gonna get that word right back at you. But you ain't gonna call me no bitch, and I'm not gonna say anything about it. You know what I mean? And that was the and Kevin Durant is shown to be no, I'm not gonna use that, but I would say sensitive. He's kind of a sensitive guy, so he probably felt like, hey, this isn't the most ideal situation for me. I think KD probably felt the weight on his shoulders in regards to people saying that that his championships are a fluke, and so yeah, I just think he wanted to get that weight off his back. He wanted to get that off his back. Was it a bad situation, or was it a bad decision to leave the Warriors? I don't think so. I'm not really on that time to say, okay, it was a bad move to switch the Warriors, to walk away from the Warriors, because I mean that headline probably would have still been running. I mean, people are gonna talk every time, every day, I mean, I'm talking now. I'm talking about KD now, So, but nah. I think it was better for the league that KD left. But now, with the situation, especially now, with KD, requesting the trade, it's like I said, it's almost like that Ben Simmons situation. He had his deal and then he's requesting a trade, and I think that's something we really gotta look at. We really gotta understand, like, the league and some of these owners, they might crack down on that. They might be having some players, pay for play. they about to have players on an hourly wage. They about to have Kevin Durant on making minimum wage. Or probably Kyrie. Kyrie Irving is probably gonna make minimum wage after this year, because he's still making $37 million a year. But yeah, man, hey, gotta maintain that salary cap though, But yeah, man, it was a better decision for him to leave the Warriors. I just think it was just a bad situation for him to just play with Kyrie. And then and honestly, Brooklyn Nets management, they deserve some blame too, because you can't fully give in all your trust in assets, you know what I'm saying, to a player who, I'm not going to say Kevin Durant doesn't deserve input, but Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant shouldn't have been the deciding factor. You know what I mean? And you know what? In situations like this, it's extremely, it's like a gray, it's a gray area, because it's like, if you got GMs, presidents, guys like that, who's in the front office, and their jobs are on the line based off the people they pick for a roster, But instead of you taking that responsibility fully, you pass it off to your star player. And this is a new concept. This is relatively a new concept where players are able to have GM influence. But to be fair, there's not really a lot of players that's able to really do that. Like, only other player really is LeBron James. But we see how that's going now. But we've also seen how it was before, because LeBron James, or Le GM, still got 2 championships under his belt, being Le GM. Kevin Durant, he don't got nothing. He don't got nothing with Kyrie but a flat Earth hypothesis. So, but yeah, man, it's try it out, KD, man. Try it out. Just ball to your heart's content. Like really just try to stick to this season. See where it goes, man. See where it goes. Because honestly, I think if you do get traded, I don't. It's either it's gonna be for the Nets. It's gonna be more for their benefit than your benefit. Because Nets. If they wanted to just get rid of you, or if they just wanted to get rid of Kevin Durant, they would have already did it already. They would have done it with the Celtics. They possibly could have done it with the Suns, and possibly the Heat too, or even the Raptors. But they wanted that number 1 star guy. They wanted that one alpha. They wanted an equivalent exchange, and that's not gonna happen. Because Kevin Durant, there's no guy that's equal to Kevin Durant unless I'm getting Giannis. If I'm getting Giannis, hey, come on now, I'll trade Giannis for KD in a heartbeat. Hey, I'll take Giannis over KD anytime. Hey, what's up, man? If any, I don't know. Sorry, I didn't stay. But if anybody's watching right now, man, drop a like, subscribe to the page, hit that notification button. Because whenever I stream, I would love to have you guys hop on here and engage with me as much as possible. I don't want to just kind of keep talking to myself about the sport. I could do this. I could do this now at home with the computer off. So I'll definitely have to love to have some guys on here. And talk about what I'm talking about. I'm gonna switch it to another topic. Russell Westbrook. I know we've spoken about Russell Westbrook. And he just got a new agent. We know that recently he fired his agent. And do we know all the details as to why he fired his agent? So the story is that his agent, or his former agent, was trying to convince Westbrook to stay in LA and adjust to the road that Darvingham is trying to make him out to be. And I think that's very good advice from his agent. I think that's the best scenario for Westbrook. If he were to get traded, that would be his 4th team in 4 years, and more than likely the team would have to either pick up the contract, and the Lakers are not going to buy out Westbrook for $37 to $40 million. It's not happening. Just so he won't play. At that point, you might as well have him play, even though some people might disagree. But yeah, man, I've spoken to some people about it, and he just really wants to leave LA. I think he just really wants to leave LA too. But where does he go? Where does his career lead into, or where does it go from here? And there's been some stories. There's definitely been some stories in regards to that. I'm gonna do a little quick switch up here. So the Knicks, right? And I'm gonna tie it in all together. And so the Knicks have been extremely uh, pursuant, or sorry, uh, they've been very adamant on trading for or trying to obtain Donovan Mitchell. They are fully set on getting Donovan Mitchell. And so from what I've read on Bleacher Report, if Donovan Mitchell were to be a Knick, then the Lakers and the Knicks would entertain talks for Julius Randle. And do I think that's a good trade? I think so. I think that's all right. I think when you have a point guard in like LeBron James, I think that would definitely set Julius Randle up a little bit better. I think that would allow him to take a lot more smarter shots instead of like the fadeaway at the baseline. I don't know why he takes those shots. He just doesn't make them. He's like, I think he's like the worst. He has like the worst percentage in those areas. And then another thing that was brought up was that the Knicks might pursue Russell Westbrook if they get Donovan Mitchell. How do I feel about that? What do I think about that? I think that's good for the Knicks. If it were any other team that's actually trying to compete, then I don't really think it's much of something to look at, because at the end of the day, like, when you assemble these teams, you're trying to compete. But for the Knicks, I mean, they've never really had nothing like that in a while. They last time they probably had somebody who was on the caliber of Westbrook was probably Melo to an extent. And so I think that would really boost the Knicks stock. Just being competitive. Just coming out day to day and just balling out. And I think it just goes from there. Because Donovan Mitchell is here for the long haul. He's a player that's very good, and he's going to be playing basketball for a very long time. And so now we're just trying to see where it goes from here. Hopefully I would want Donovan Mitchell as a Knick. And if he plays with Westbrook, I mean, that's something we would have to see if it were to happen. But do I see it happening? They got to get D-Mitch first. Because I don't see the point in the team trading solely for Westbrook. I just don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening. But yeah, that would be a good assemble. And it would bring a lot of hype to the Knicks, because if the Knicks were to ever get a star, like if the Knicks were to ever have somebody like on a day-to-day, like superstar caliber player on their team, I mean, we've seen it before. I mean, that time when Jeremy Lin was going crazy, that little time when he was really like going in. I don't think I understand, man. Like how crazy the city was, and how crazy basketball was at that time. Because New York is the mecca of basketball, man. They're the mecca of basketball, man. And whenever things is hyped up, whenever things is happening at the Garden, man, it's like, Knicks fan or not, they're at those games, man. they trying to see their team. So it would be great. It would be great for basketball. If that trade would have happened with Donovan Mitchell, it would definitely be great for basketball. For sure. Let me see. I think with the Kyrie Irving trade, I think that's kind of that kind of sank deep. I don't think that trade is really gonna be happening. I mean, Kyrie Irving inked in his deal. I mean, he's going into the last year of his contract, but it seems that the Lakers are not willing to give up those 2 draft picks. So we've already kind of talked about that one. Previous signings. I mean, I didn't get a chance to talk about free agency, but I know a lot went down in free agency, as always. A lot of players got paid. Nikola Jokic got one of the highest contracts in NBA history, or the highest contract in NBA history. I think it's like the first player to have $250 million contract. But Steph Curry, on a yearly basis, I think he still averages more in his contract, if I'm not mistaken. I may or may not be wrong on that one, though. Devin Booker got paid too, getting that cash. Getting that cash, sure. So, yeah, that was a big one. I met Devin Booker too. Yeah, I met him. Great guy. I remember when I first met him. That was when the Suns sucked. Like they were poo-poo juice. Like they sucked. Like if I can even, I remember Mikal Bridges on the team, but I remember it was TJ Warren, DeAndre Ayton was a rookie. That was the year DeAndre Ayton was a rookie. I remember now. Yeah, he was a rookie that year. So whenever I get the chance, man, I'm gonna post that. I'm gonna post that picture actually for you guys, just so you can get a glimpse at that. But yeah, man, it's just. Oh no, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, man, who's next on? Who else signed a big trade? Let's see. Oh, yes, indeed. Okay. So here is what happened. Okay, so yes, we are familiar with the DeAndre Ayton situation. That was a funny situation. I'm not gonna hold you. That was a very funny situation. Apparently the Suns, they didn't want to overcommit to DeAndre Ayton. I think the thing was just the fact that they didn't want to overpay him. They didn't want to give him $40 to $50 to $60 million a year. I think for good reason. I mean, you're still trying to. I mean, their mindset is probably they wanted to pay Devin Booker, and I think they still had to pay Chris Paul. So, not to mention Mikal Bridges though too, because he was Defensive Player of the Year candidate. But from what I hear, apparently the Suns have a problem with DeAndre Ayton playing too much Call of Duty, So they were letting him test the free agency market. They were letting him, okay, like you wanna go to another team, try it out, And so what happened was DeAndre Ayton was offered a contract by the Pacers. And so because DeAndre Ayton was drafted by the Suns, were able to match the offer or give him something better. And looking at that trade, or not that trade, looking at that contract that they offered, honestly, I think it was a fair contract, very fair contract. I mean, DeAndre Ayton is getting $30 million a year. And in today's NBA, yeah, I mean, considering how some players are getting 50, 40, $60 million a year now, I mean, that's almost a bargain, and DeAndre Ayton, without a doubt, is, still one of the best centers in the league. So I think that's something we just gotta, we gotta look into. And at the end of the day, if this guy's on your team, or at least if this guy's on the Suns, he's gonna make them better overall. Bradley Beal. Man, did that boy get paid too? Yeah, so he is staying with the Wizards. I mean, I already knew that, but yeah, he inked in a $251 million contract, right? And I think he is the only player in the league with a no trade clause, which is pretty crazy. In my eyes, that's how I look at it. There's not a lot of people who don't have no trade clauses on their contract. So, or it typically only happens with superstars or stars. But I'm surprised, players like KD, LeBron. I mean, there's a lot of players that you think, but I don't think they would really get traded by the Wizards. But that's just securing Bradley Beal's future. He has a little security. So even if the Wizards were to try and trade him, they would have to get his permission first, or Bradley Beal would have to request a trade. But I think, with Bradley Beal, I mean, hey, brother's getting paid. He was offered a super max contract. I mean, why else would he turn that down? For a ring? You could buy a ring now. You could buy your ring. So, yeah. It's Bradley Beal. Hey man, kudos to that man. Got a huge contract. I don't, that's a good look. Zach LaVine staying with the Bulls. Did I think that was it was alright, honestly. It's not no. Zach LaVine's a great player. I'm not trying to insinuate anything else, but the Chicago Bulls really haven't been that team in a long time. Even with Derrick Rose, it's like they were creeping through the door for championship capability, but obviously, Derrick Rose got hurt and things didn't work out the way it was supposed to. But that's that. Jalen Brunson. I know that was one of the biggest signings of this year also. So actually, you know what? I'll take that back. Westbrook can't be on the Knicks because Jalen Brunson is there. There would be no point unless he comes off the bench. But back to that, yeah. So Jalen Brunson, man, he got his contract. I was actually pretty surprised at the fact that he left the Mavs. From what I've read, apparently he wasn't trying to wait on an offer for the Mavs. I think the Knicks offered him the money already, and he was willing to, take it. I mean, I can't blame him. $104 million. But if the Dallas Mavericks were willing to offer me that same bag, I mean, hey, you gotta stay in Texas, buddy. No state income taxes, you getting most at $104 million. New York, you probably they gonna skimp you like that lottery ticket with it. It was 60% tax on that contract. Especially in New York City. In New York City, they got state and city tax. So, oof. I mean, good luck there. But I mean, he's not really gonna feel that shit. Still making millions, better than what I'm making. That's for sure. Another player, James Harden. He inked in a $68 million contract, and as we all know, he declined his player option so that he can, take a pay cut. And I think that was very good for James Harden. I think James Harden is looking at his career now and starting to realize, like, hey, you know what comes with winning, what comes with championships is sacrifice. Sacrificing your pay, sacrificing your play. At least at this point in his career, and it was a good decision. It was a good decision. There was obviously James Harden has done a lot of questionable things as it pertains to switching to teams and whatnot, but he's on the team that he says he wants to be on, and so I mean, there's not a lot of blowback there, so nothing too much on that. Gary Payton II, he signed a max value contract of $26 million over the next couple years, and I'm happy for him, man. Gary Payton II. I didn't really get to see his pops play, but from what I see, he's almost like his dad in a sense. Very defensive minded, and something that we really got to talk about here when it comes to Gary Payton is his plus minus. He actually had a really high plus minus when he was playing for the Warriors during that playoff run or in the finals. I think it was like one of the highest in history. I wouldn't say the highest because I don't want to give y'all wrong information, but it was definitely one of the highest in history when it comes to plus minus. And you guys already know plus minus is how the team is doing when you're on the court. And whenever Gary Payton was on there, he can almost. He was kind of like offsetting the Celtics backcourt, and even to an extent, being a pest on the front court too. So that's that on that. I think he's on the Trailblazers now, so he's gonna be playing with Damian Lillard. See how that turns out, because the Trailblazers, Damian Lillard signed his new deal, so he's gonna be banking in a lot of dough, a lot of money. That's why they don't call him Dame Dollar for none. And so by the time he's finished with his career, he will probably made over in excess of $400 million. That is generational wealth, buddy. Hey, kudos to you, man. I mean, I think with Damian Lillard, I think he's kind of reached a point in his life or in his career where it's like he's accepted the fact that he probably might not win a championship. He might not win a championship. And I think for a player who's willing to accept it, I think if they're willing to accept it, why shouldn't we? I mean, obviously, I think it affects, your overall legacy. But I think when you're making that much money, man, I don't think your NBA legacy is worth more than your security in life, But Damian Lillard, man, I would really love to see Damian Lillard compete for a ring, man. I think everybody's itching for it. I think people really want to see it. But I don't blame Damian Lillard for wanting to do it the right way, wanting to do it his way, wanting to have the Trailblazers in the finals, because we've seen them in the Western Conference Finals, but never a finals appearance, but yet still able to make the top 75 anniversary list. Whether I agree with it or not, it's not really something for me to say at the moment, but yeah, Damian Lillard at this point has had a great career, but I think he's already accepted the fact that he's not going to be winning a championship anytime soon, or he's already admitted to the fact that he would have to leave Portland to win a championship. And I think that's where the conflict comes in, because I think he was even trying to recruit Kevin Durant to come to Trailblazers, but I think Kevin Durant didn't want to go to the Trailblazers. But his loss, because I think that really would have worked out. That would have been entirely that would have been in a completely different situation. And I think the way we talk about Kevin Durant today, the way we're talking about him now, we wouldn't be talking about him like this if he had been playing with the Trailblazers, because it would have been a completely different situation. But yeah, man, that's at least that's it right there. So that's the latest news, or what's been going on. For the most part, what I was talking about in the beginning was more recent news, but I just wanted to tap into some of the free agency stuff. Just wanted to let you guys know what I thought about that, and but yeah, So if you guys ever get a chance, to watch this and ever get a chance to tap in, just like and subscribe, the CashSports podcast. I'm here. I'm always ready to have this conversation with anybody. Ready to talk football, basketball, boxing, MMA. I mean, I'm trying to watch baseball too. I really am. I really am trying to. I can watch baseball. I can understand it. It's just certain acronyms. It's kind of hard for me to understand some concepts, but I probably have to go to the graveyard to find out more about baseball, because some baseball fans be old as hell. But yeah, man, it's CashSports, so we're always here. We're always ready to have that conversation with anybody in regards to the topics that we discuss. And and for those who don't know, it doesn't have to. I don't have to stick to the top. I don't have to stick to the topic too much. As long as if we're talking football, then we just need to talk about football. If we're talking basketball, we just need to talk about basketball. You know what I mean? So, but that's just that. I know y'all see that Cash App at the bottom of the screen. I ain't asking for too much, man. Whatever y'all can spare, whatever change y'all can give, obviously it'll be at the kindness of y'all heart, man. But I'm just trying to build on my channel as much as possible, man. That's all it is. So, because the more this thing goes up, the more exposure that I have. I want to have some real conversations with some real people, man. In regards to this whole thing, So, some real good, genuine conversations, some real sports talk, like some heated get up in your face. But then, you drink a beer right after and get drunk and have a good talk, So that's kind of where I wanted to get at, where I want people to have fun. I want people to kind of hop on here and engage, and with CashSports too. So, I'm trying to see what angle I can get at here, with sports betting. But since I'm in California, it's a little bit tricky here. So, best I could do is probably do affiliate market programs, and even with that's very nitpicky, because I do want to be able to expose you guys to some offers and let you know what's out there. But yeah, man. Also, if you guys look at the channel and look at the information about my channel, I also have a Facebook page. You guys can also follow that and see when I set my notifications, and when I'm about to stream, things like that. And I also I also post shorts every single day, man. Every single day. I try to post at least 2 a day. So if you guys are tuning in or you guys watching, man, tap into those. I'm always trying to drop some new information for everybody when it comes to those shorts. But when it comes to these conversations right here, man, this is I want it to be trench talk, man. I want it to almost be like The Shop, but I ain't trying to be all political. I understand, LeBron James, he's with a lot of important people. You can't just say whatever. But here, nah, man, we saying it how it is, man. We want to say the truth. We want to say how we feel out on here. No holds bars. Say what you feel. But yeah, man, that's that. This concludes our episode here on CashSports. Like I said, like and subscribe. Hit that notification button if you want more content. Yeah, and that is it. This concludes our episode for today. Thank you guys for everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Raymond James, for for the questions. I really did appreciate it. It made me actually think about. It really made me think. Considering the whole KD swap for LeBron James, but that was a good question. But yeah, so have a good night or have a good day if it is a day, and I hope you all the best. And there you have it. This is CashSports. Have a good day, guys.